It's time for us to talk about the spice melange, and how disappointing it was. Oh my gosh. That's right, I am the man you may know as Z from Our Reviews Will Kill You, and I am a Dune fan, a big old Dune fan. See this? Popcorn tin. It's not my only proof, but I have read all of the books, and I wanted to talk about my take on Dune Prophecy. I know it's been over for a couple of days now, and I wanted to digest what I went through. And I'm not going to rehash the entire story. I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe what's going forward. What I really want to talk about is what I think was missing from the show. And I don't necessarily care how it messes with lore because it's in a weird in-between place. I'm really a Herbert purist, so I really only subscribe to the 6 books. I have read the other books with Brian and his son. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm going to say 64, Dune, the original Dune was released. And Frank Herbert wrote 6 total books. And then his son, Brian Herbert, took over with the help of some other writers. So Kevin Anderson, I think it's Kevin Anderson is one of them. And they added to the lore of Dune. And some of it, a lot of people don't consider that part of the actual canon. So it's Kevin J. Anderson. It's a good sci-fi writer. It's just different, and it doesn't really, in a lot of fans' view, fit with the lore. So what you got with the 2 Dune movies was a pretty solid adaptation with a few mistakes of the original Dune book. Dune 1 and Dune 2, they split into 2 movies, and that's really just one book, and they're going to do Dune Messiah. And what I think this show did a really big disservice to was actually setting up Dune Messiah. The interesting thing about Dune Messiah, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but you have a lot of different factions, and all of the factions together are going to oppose Paul Atreides. And I would have thought that this show would have done a better job of introducing those factions. So this is Dune Prophecy takes place 10,000 years prior to anything that happens in Dune, and they're trying to introduce a bunch of things. The primary problem with the show is that it seems to follow the J.J. Abrams mystery box model, right? So let's just briefly touch on the plot. So what you have is the Sisterhood split into 2 parts. Some of them are fanatics for the Orange Catholic Bible, and the others are still willing to use thinking machines, which have been outlawed. Because if you watched any of this show, you would understand that, prior to the 10,000 years from Dune in the past, no one uses thinking machines or like AI programs because there was a big revolt and it almost wiped out all of mankind. What I would have liked to see is mankind rebuilding from this, and how the spice allowed humanity to evolve, and then maybe that would have created the different factions. But what we get is a bunch of mystery boxes. We get a man returning from Arrakis who has special powers. And the weird part is he has powers of, like he can whistle and do things to people. And they don't answer any questions in any of this, right? So the man who returns to help the Emperor, we don't get any answer to. The Korean Empire apparently stays together for 10,000 years, yet it doesn't seem like it in this show, right? And so that means, there's problems with the timeline. They don't answer those questions. They don't answer really who this man is being controlled by. He's being controlled by somebody, but they don't answer that question. And then you have the sisters, right? They're Harkonnen sisters. Harkonnen. And somehow, we understand that they're kind of scumbags, but they're supposed to evolve, I guess, into the bald-headed dudes, but I don't see how that's going to happen. Can you explain that to me? And those are some of my problems. Is like they just want to solve with a bunch of flashbacks, like, oh, this is what happened to this sister, and this is what happened to that sister. But ultimately, all you have is a split in the sisterhood, and the only questions that they answer is that abomination is possible. So when a Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit takes the Water of Life, they're supposed to have access to all their previous genetic memories. So anyone who was connected to them previously, they had access to. And the mothers are supposed to be able to share this intimate knowledge so that the motherhood's knowledge as a collective is never lost. So one Reverend Mother, can transfer her knowledge to another Reverend Mother, and they can keep building upon this. So this gives them like not infinite knowledge, but gives them this huge database of human knowledge that would not otherwise be able to be accessed. So what this show does is answer none of those questions. So here's what I would have liked. I would have liked to see how the spice influenced humanity's development. They don't talk about mentats. I mean, they mention mentats. Mentats, since they've outlawed computers, they have humans who take spice, and there's another other drug that they use too, this like sapphic juice that allows them to tap into their mental capabilities. So what you have to understand is everyone begins consuming spice, and it increases their longevity, but it also starts mutating humans. So they become all these different offshoots, and eventually those are the offshoots that will oppose Duke Leto Atreides in Dune Messiah. So that's what I feel like we're missing in the show. I would have liked to see how the spice impacted people. Did it create the Bene Talaxu? Did it create the fate? They show face dancers, but they act like, oh, it was something, and we're not going to answer how it happened, and the spice has nothing to do with it, when the spice has everything to do with everything. They don't talk about the Ixians. They don't talk about... Basically, they don't talk about the guild. They had an opportunity to show that sister where she was enveloped in spice, and she could have become a guild person where she could navigate the stars, because if you no longer have access to computers, how are humans supposed to navigate the stars? Well, when they overdose on spice, they could see the different pathways they could take through, like hyperspace or warp or whatever it is that is in the Dune system or in the Dune lore. And humans become more than humans. They become this hyper... they're almost like fish people who live inside these tanks of spice that's constantly flowing to them to give them the prescience to see the paths of where they could travel. I would have thought all of that was interesting, but they didn't give us any of it. What they gave us was a bunch of bunk. Two Harkonnen sisters who weren't very nice, who I don't see how they become the Harkonnens. My biggest example is the voice. She just learns the voice on her own. They don't say how maybe she overdosed on spice or used so much spice that it was a technique that she was able to learn over time. She just magically comes up with it. The same with the way the Bene Gesserit, they call it Prinubandhu. There's like a physical thing that they do where they can move faster than regular humans that they develop through spice, like Prina Bindu. Sorry, it's all my terms are going to be all messed up because it's Prana Bindu, and it's how they manipulate their bodies to do things. Just like they talk about being able to manipulate their chemistry. I would have loved to see them talk about the Gom Jabbar. But instead, we have an Atreides on Arrakis. Sorry, spoilers. But we have an Atreides on Arrakis 10,000 years before Paul's ever supposed to be there. The point of Paul is that he comes from a soft water planet, and he's supposed to move to one of the harshest planets in the galaxy. Like, this show just isn't Dune. Like, it's as if somebody heard something about Dune and was like, oh, yeah, let's throw in that and that and that. But they don't actually know what they're talking about. And it's just a bunch of mystery boxes that just ultimately nobody cares about and nothing ever gets solved. When will Dune set? Who knows? Apparently it did well enough to get a second season. I mean, it was only 6 episodes, and it was a giant disaster to create this thing because they lost the original director left. He was one of the original show writers or showrunners, and he left the show. They lost like 2 sets of showrunners. So this was actually supposed to be from 2019, and it took this long for it to come out. It took 5 years. Season 1 was ordered in 2019. They're claiming it's going to come out in 2027, maybe late 2026. I don't know. I just wasn't very impressed. And there's way too many things going on. And there's just not a lot of people. Like, all the Atreides are gone. Or are they gone? I just don't care about any of these characters. I just didn't feel anything for them. Not that the actors weren't good. I just thought the writing really let the show down. The 6th and final episode aired, and I just do not. This was not a good show. It was disappointing. They didn't answer any interesting questions. The sisterhood has lost its way. The sisterhood is barely even the sisterhood. It's a mix between, like, they barely control anything in the universe other than they have truthsayers, which are just there as consultants to tell you whether or not somebody's telling the truth. It's just kind of garbage, all of it. As someone who definitely is a big fan of the books, I don't see anything. I don't see any future here. I feel like they approved it because it did well enough in the ratings, which wasn't fantastic, but they're like, yeah, you know, hopefully people will pay attention and they just want to keep Dune going and maybe they can spin something else off of it. Because apparently this is only loosely based off of the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson material. And even then, I just don't think this is part of canon. I just don't. It's just not good enough either. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. I was extremely disappointed. I don't know how you guys feel about it. As a big-time Dune fan, it just did not fit the bill. If you want to discuss it more, leave some comments down below. We can have another discussion about it. We can talk a little bit more about it. Find out what you guys think, because I'm always curious. You know, I don't want to be a snob. I just want to say, you know, the special effects were okay. But ultimately, it felt like there was like 3 sets. And, you know, I think it kind of missed the plot. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys taking a listen and watching the whole thing. Maybe I'll let you feel my tin. Ooh, he's a sandworm. He's going to eat you. Anyway, we would appreciate the like, subscribe. If you want to discuss more Dune stuff, I have more videos. I'd love to talk more about it. It's one of my favorite. It's definitely my all-time favorite science fiction book. So let's talk about it. Love all y'all, but I'm on to the next one.
Thanks for catching the video. Be sure to join our channel to get the education you deserve. Make sure you check out our shorts, live streams, and catch us on all the socials. Don't forget to like and subscribe.